Hey guys. Okay, so I want to teach you the next lesson for our literary essays. Um, Yesterday we talked about details that we're noticing about our characters that can help us to start building our essays. And hi, Truman. We are going to continue today with talking about trying to dig a little deeper into our characters and get below the surface to think about some of the motivations that drive them. So, kind of thinking about what a character really wants and how to analyze that. So, if we're writing, oh my God, my cat's so distracting. I'm sorry. So, when we're writing an essay, um, one of the things that we're going to do, and that anybody that writes an essay is going to do to help make that essay more powerful, is we're going to try to look beyond the obvious. Like I just said, we're going to try to um, not just look for the thing that we notice first, but to try to dig a little deeper, which you guys have been doing a really great job at, and think about what else we could notice about our characters that is kind of just below the surface. Okay. So that's going to mean thinking about what motivates them, what's driving them to do what they're doing, and to figure out what they want from the people around them, from their life. Okay. So we've been using Raymond's Run and this character Squeaky to help us practice this stuff. So we're gonna today look at a little a little bit of her story and just think about why is she acting so tough, prickly, defensive, whatever you want to call it, because she's got that tough exterior, right? So our goal with this lesson today is to go beyond the obvious, right? So it might be easy to say, okay, we're asking ourselves this question: what does she really want from people and from life? Well, on the outside, it might be easy to just say, well, she's a runner. She wants to win, right? Um, but that's kind of like that surface level obvious stuff. We want to try to think about some other things that we've noticed about her, how she might seem a little bit lonely, and some of those other things that are an internal attribute that might be a little um, less obvious or less um, the thing that we would notice first. Okay, so um, another thing that is maybe something that might come to our minds quickly is something like, um, not just that she's a runner, but another trait like, well, she just wants people to stop being jerks. Everybody she meets, she's like, just stop it. I don't want to deal with you, right? But we have to even dig deeper beyond that. Okay. So we have to think about what is motivating people to do what they're doing. So I'm going to give you an example from my life. So, for example, my whole life, my dad did not really love the idea of pets, right? Like um, he would tolerate them, but he wouldn't really like be into them. He would like kind of keep his distance. And it wasn't until recently, my whole life I just kind of thought like he wasn't really an animal person. He didn't like them that much. But I've since found out that he didn't like pets because he can't stand, um, the idea or the actuality of losing a pet, of having it pass away, because he gets too attached to them, and he'd rather just not even become bonded with a pet than have to go through the grieving in the morning. So, he's, like, actually, like, extra sensitive and attached to pets, which, was surprising to me. So at first sight, you might think here's a person who's not a pet person, not an animal person, and the truth, if you dig below the surface, is that he's actually, like, extra sensitive. He's, like, one of the most sensitive animal people that I know, right? So, you have to do a little thinking work to get there. So, um, I also just wanna let you know that it's okay to take some time to do this work. Like, it might not be your first thought. You have to kind of, like, give yourself time to get there, okay? A lot of times this stuff is gonna be, like, something about how your character wants to feel or what they want their life to be like, something that's below the surface, something about their relationships or their connections with people, okay? So if we do this with Squeaky, what does she really want from life? Like I said, something that might come up on the surface quickly is something like, well, she wants to win. Okay. Obviously, we already came up with that. Um, but I thought a little bit harder or more beyond the obvious for us already. And I thought about this idea that she wants to be tough. Okay. And so I kind of put some sticky notes here for us. She wants to be tough. And I thought about some of the reasons why that might be. She wants to be tough. And I started to like dig in a little deeper about maybe about being protective and feeling that need to really protect Raymond because she loves him so much, but just because she wants to like sort of put a barrier between him and the world and not really let anybody get to him. Um, she wants to be tough, but I'm also thinking about how that might make her feel really lonely. It seems to be hard for her to make friends. So these were just some of my initial thoughts about um, what she really wants, but also what that might mean for her. Okay, so that's my first attempt at thinking about the answers to this question. But whenever you ask yourself this question about what people really want, you're usually the answers you're going to get are going to be something like a feeling, a way of life, some sort of a relationship, like loneliness, like I just said about Squeaky, or like like she wants to have friends, like that's a relationship, right? So everybody, no matter who you are, it's human nature to want those things. So that's the kind of stuff that's going to come up when you start to do this kind of work. So far, here's what we've done. Okay, just to summarize where we're at so far. When you're writing about a character to try to discover what they want, you're asking yourself what they want, right? And trying to look beyond the obvious. You're listing their possible motivations. So like why might they want that thing? We're on step 3 now. We're going to do some writing. So that's where you're going to be at today. Yesterday, um, in my class, we did not have a ton of time to write. So today, you're going to have a lot of time to write. This will be good. Okay. So here's an example of just writing fast and furious about what Squeaky really wants. Okay. And her motivations. So this is what it might look like when you try this today. Squeaky seems tough and angry, wanting to knock down people, but even though she seems tough, what shines through is how much she loves Raymond. He's disabled in some way. I'm not sure how exactly, and having him tag along could make some people crazy, but she wants to stay near him to look out for him. They go everywhere together. If people tease her brother or treat him badly, Squeaky gets mad. She knows he's different and that he can't protect himself. Protect. That's a good word for what Squeaky does. Squeaky wants to protect her brother from the world. She watches that he walks on the safe side of the sidewalk and knocks down anyone who so much as looks at him. It's like she sees the whole world as enemies to her and to Raymond. Maybe she's gotten tough because people have made fun of her, and she uses that toughness to protect Raymond. But while she thinks she's just protecting Raymond, she's also pushing people away, and I sort of wonder if she's lonely deep down. Okay, so that's some thoughts there about what that might look like to write long. Sorry, it's so cold in here. I'm like freezing to death. Um, so I wanted to add to this. I wanted to show you some things that we've added to this thought prompts to help you write. Um, Again, these are just helpful things to connect your sentences together to keep you going if you get stuck. But there's this idea of thinking about your character at different parts of the story that you could come back to if you're trying to get more ideas generated, like how what does your character want in the beginning of the story versus the middle of the story versus the end of the story, so you can kind of check in with how that's changing throughout the story. So those little tags are there to remind you that you can think about how that is changing for your character throughout. There's another one added over here where you can think about the idea of why something might be meaningful or significant. So this is another, just another sentence starter. This is significant because, so that's a great one to try out. And one last thing that you can try to add on to this is when you are using this, I wonder if thing, when you're kind of like speculating about something, try answering your own question. Again, there's no necessarily one right answer, but when you try to answer your own question, that leads to deeper thinking. That's where you're really analyzing. That's when you're getting into some of this really difficult work. Okay. So, um, yesterday we talked about rereading and starting to notice, why is the author choosing this detail? Today, we're just adding a little bit more onto it, saying, well, what does the character really actually want? Okay. So your job today is to write about your character. Um, and just really experiment with trying to dig into this work with your literary essay and writing about your character from your story now that we've practiced with Squeaky. So it is time to write. Get going. You have the rest of the time.